Welcome to the project. Tonight, the biggest issues our pollies aren't talking about ahead of the election.
Plus, stuck in space for 9 months, astronauts Butch and Suni are back on Earth. We speak to someone who's actually been in their space boots.
80s pop icon Cyndi Lauper drops in for a bit of fun.
And we dig into whether Australia is one of the least friendly countries in the world. Oh, it sounds to me like that Wombat lady's been talking about us. God damn it.
We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation, and Liz Ellis is here.
Hello, Liz.
It's lovely to be here.
Great to have you back on the desk.
I feel like I'm back with my mates. I've missed you guys.
We've missed you.
We've missed you.
But we're all here now, so we can just all hold hands and hum for the next hour.
Well, I mean,
We're gonna have a bit more fun
I think
than that.
let's do the news, maybe.
Well, perhaps we should identify someone who's not here. Georgina Tani.
Yeah. Where in the world is she?
Well, yeah, shall we guess? She's here. She is part of
So bottom
the
right.
2025 edition of the Celebrity edition of Amazing Race Australia. There she is in the bottom right with her partner Rob. And now we just throw it open to you. Where in the world is that?
Well, I mean, she told me she was going to the shops to get milk, so this is big news for me to hear. I reckon that is Bendigo.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Famous mountains of Bendigo.
Yeah, the famous mountains of Bendigo. I don't know. Let's play along.
Thanks, we'll find out.
Well, let's get some of today's top stories now. And a huge media scrum greeted two Sydney nurses as they fronted court today, charged over an anti-Semitic video. Sarah Abu Lebda and Ahmad Rashad Nadir are accused of threatening Israeli patients during a chat with an Israeli content creator. Their cases have been adjourned until May. Nadir's lawyer says his client intends to plead not guilty.
The video, which was captured and recorded, was done without the consent of my client, without his knowledge, and we will argue for that to be excluded.
NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore are back in Houston tonight undergoing medical checks, having finally returned to Earth after 9 months in space. They splashed down off the Florida coast this morning, a pod of dolphins on hand to welcome them.
God, that's amazing.
And Splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
On behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
Butch and Suni had only expected to be gone for about a week when they blasted off in June. Instead, they ended up orbiting the Earth more than 4,500 times.
It's the most insane stuff.
What a saga this has been. Stay tuned. We will be chatting to a former NASA astronaut a bit later in the show who has been through this situation of being trapped in space. So you'll want to hear from him, trust me.
In other news, 5 men who stopped a knife-wielding man on a rampage in Sydney CBD in 2019 have today been recognised for their heroism with a Bravery Award from the Governor-General. Using chairs and a milk crate, they managed to corner and subdue now convicted killer Mert Ney, who was armed with a 20-centimetre blade. And the man wielding the crate is newly minted hero Jace Shaw. Jace, congratulations. It must feel like such an honour.
Yeah, it is. It's it's a lot to absorb. I'm still trying to take on the severity of the award and all that's happened. So yeah.
Jace, can you take us back to 2019? You're sitting in your car, minding your own business, and then what?
Then I saw Mert Ney stab someone in the back, put his balaclava on and started terrorising the streets. So as soon as that happened, I launched out of the car. I was a passenger in the car at that time, and the first thought and instinct was just to run after this guy and try and get him down. So
did you have any thought of self-preservation, or was it, there is a danger, I've got to run to it? That's extraordinary.
Yeah, kind of sounds a bit insane when you say it like that. But it was kind of just, being ex-military, trying to sort of train to do that. So jumping out of the car was a first thought, and then taking him down with no other thought but just to sort of get him down. So what's going through your mind when you're taking him down with a crate? Not much. It's just put a crate on top of his head and secure him. But the crate was there, and I don't know when I got the crate. It was probably towards the end of it. But the crate was there to be able to use if he was wielding the knife at me, sort of to create some distance and try and get the knife tied up in the crate and then take it out of his hand and then sort of be able to take him down. But fortunately enough, I didn't have to get that close, but close enough to put the crate over his head and neck and make sure he didn't get up.
Jace, have you ever used a crate before in hand-to-hand combat? Do you have any experience? I know it was there, but did you know what you were doing with the crate?
No, I've not studied any crate arty.
But that's good. That's really good.
I've thought about opening up a dojo for it, but no, honestly, no, not at all. It's just I think you improvise and adapt, and a crate was there, and I used it. So.
Wow. Do you put hero on your CV now, Jace?
No, that's a strange word for me. It's a hard one to put down. I didn't jump out of the car thinking that we were going to get medals and a hero status, so to speak. But I'll take it with a grain of salt and a kind heart.
No way, it was earned.
Absolutely.
You better update your LinkedIn profile page.
Exactly.
Jace, thanks for your time, and hey, congrats again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
What a guy. Guys, today the Prime Minister visited our Services Australia Centre and he made a big entrance, guys. Sorry, now I added the drum beat. I need to point that out. Okay, yeah. He doesn't have a drum guy, but I mean, it's a bit of fun. It's nice to imagine. But before long, Albo was in there. He was slamming the coalition as he likes to do. He had a metaphor that kind of made me think he's not really into bath time.
It's a thought bubble without the thought. It's really like a soap bubble because it lasts about as long as a bit of a soap bubble that comes up from a bubble bath or something. It just disappears.
OK, his truth bomb kind of turned into a bath bomb. Either way, he's bombing. We can all agree on that. But I was watching that today. I couldn't concentrate because all I could think about was this. Wow. It's crazy. Isn't that... now, I want to say that's not an invitation for Dutton or Albo to join me in the bath, but maybe with Waleed. I don't know.
I said yes once, and you've never let me forget it.
I own the IP, brother.
It's off to a break. See you soon.
Welcome back to the project.
Guys, now politics is boring. That's all I wanted to say. No, now I get it right because it's hard. I'm around it all the time. The number one rule, let me tell you, is that you have to pretend to look interested, OK? A lesson Victorian Shadow Treasurer James Newbury is yet to learn.
For landlords, for rental providers, will only heap more pressure on renters right across the state at a time that we're already suffering a rental crisis.
Now, apparently before politics, he was one of those street statue performers, so I think he's longing for the old days. But if you take a closer look, we might be able to run it again, you can actually see what he's thinking about.
For landlords, for rental providers, will only heap more pressure on renters right across the state at a time that we're already
crazy. It's just insane how far that goes, you know?
Is this going to be all night, is it?
Pretty sure we've got it in every segment so far, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at what's making news around the world. Donald Trump's made some progress with Vladimir Putin on Ukraine. While the Russian president ruled out a 30-day ceasefire, he did agree to pause attacks on Ukraine's energy and infrastructure targets.
We had a great call. It lasted almost 2 hours. Talked about a lot of things.
Putin says a ceasefire will only happen if foreign military aid and intelligence sharing with Kyiv ends. Israelis are protesting the latest deadly airstrikes on Gaza, which have claimed at least 400 lives. PM Benjamin Netanyahu says he ordered the attack because Hamas refused to release more hostages. Urging Palestinians to get out of harm's way, he says this is only the beginning.
We will bring our people home and we will destroy Hamas.
And Prince Harry's US immigration documents have been released, but large sections have been redacted. A Conservative think tank wanted the paperwork made public, claiming Harry should have been refused a visa if he disclosed the drug use he wrote about in his memoir. But immigration officials say there's no evidence of special treatment and they have a duty to protect Harry's privacy. Redacted documents look great.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yep.
All right, some news back home. There has been a mixed reaction to the Tasmania Football Club's new mascot, Rumman the Tassie Devil. Look at him. He'll help drum up support for the new AFL team, which was launched last year, with Christmas baubles for eyes and fur. Get this, made from recycled school uniforms.
Well, that's terrifying.
It took 9 months to create.
Wow. I like it. It's ugly in a good way.
It is revolting. That wouldn't make me follow them. And I couldn't cheer for them looking at something like that.
I've got kids, I reckon they'd find it, not too scary. They'd probably like it, to be honest.
Is that a teddy bear?
A mouse?
It's animated, it's shouting, it's cheering the crowd. I think it's great.
Yes.
Well, some of the more unkind people online have likened it to the rat from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes, it's Splinter.
Yes, from Splinter.
He's very wise as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit ratty from the side. I like it from the front, though, and they had to walk a fine line here, right, because it can't be too scary for the kids.
Yeah.
But it's got to be enough to look like a devil. But look, I don't think it's going to stop them in their quest to sort of get members. They've already, without having a single player sign, they've got 207,000 founding members. So, yeah. So I don't think the mascot is either here nor there in how successful they're going to be.
Okay.
I like it. And rummen, did you know what it comes from?
No, I'd never heard of rummen.
Apparently, it's Tasmanian slang for someone who's a bit odd or eccentric, or a scallywag, or someone cheeky.
Oh,
so it's a little
cute.
Your little rummen.
No.
Sarah Harris, your little rummen.
Oh, I didn't get called that as a youngster, let me tell you. Now, Aussie music legends have been making waves this week at home and abroad. Let's see what they've been up to.
Hooly dooly. Have you seen the kid Leroy all grown up on the cover of Esquire Australia this month?
Hey Esquire, what's going on?
On Instagram, his mate and mentor, Justin Bieber, proudly shared the pics with his 294 million followers. In the US, Stranger Things star Millie Bobby Brown has played Slay It, Don't Spray It on Jimmy Fallon, and she got him good with Natalie Imbruglia's hit cover, Talk.
You don't seem to know, seem to care what your heart is for.
The Aussie singer clearly impressed online. While here at home, the Wiggles have reached #1 on the ARIA Australian Country Albums chart with their star-studded release, Wiggle Up, Giddy Up, that features Orville Peck, Kaylee Bell and Dolly Parton.
Everybody needs one, be my friend.
And that's ARIA Amplified.
Back to the project.
Well, it is the biggest issue we are not talking about this election. Now there's a new campaign to put climate change back on the agenda.
The cost of living. As we barrel towards the federal election, for 75% of Aussies, it's the #1 issue.
I guess on top of everyone's minds, the cost of living. It's one of the hardest things going these days at the moment.
The fact that every time you go to the supermarket, like I'm going to at the moment, it costs 30% more than it did the week before.
As grocery bills, rent, energy prices continue to soar, the number of voters prioritising climate change as a top issue is slumping. Just 25% say it's a concern for them.
They're more worried about day-to-day things.
It does not sway my vote.
Climate Council launching a campaign to put the climate back on the election agenda.
Vote like our lives depend on it, because they do.
It comes after grim news today from the UN's World Meteorological Organisation. 2024 confirmed as the hottest year on record, the first year to be more than 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial era, with 151 unprecedented extreme events globally. Thousands of Aussies still mopping up in the wake of Cyclone Alfred.
Is global warming making natural disasters worse?
The science tells us they would be more frequent and they'd be more intense.
Unfortunately, the Labor Party seems to be talking big on renewables, but as we see when we look over their record, they've been approving coal mine extensions.
In the 2022 federal election, climate change was a main driver behind the teal wave that saw voters ditch the Liberal Party for independence. This time round, the opposition have gone nuclear.
Nuclear is 44% cheaper than the government's renewables-only policy.
The nuclear policy is just a farce. The worst thing about it, though, is the Labor Party quite likes talking about nuclear as well. Both sides can just argue about something that isn't real instead of actually focusing on real action.
I worry for my kids. If governments don't make the right decisions now, I don't know what sort of future they're going to have, if any future.
But while both sides of politics largely ignore climate change in favour of hip pocket issues, climate change itself is pushing up the cost of living.
We're seeing it so very directly with insurance premiums. We know that there's going to be an impact from the floods in southeast Queensland.
So with Aussies struggling to make ends meet, will the Climate Council's campaign cut through with voters and pollies?
I think, more worried about put food on the table than if we're going to have another cyclone sometime in the future.
Well, former New South Wales Fire Commissioner and current member of the Climate Council, Greg Mullins, joins us. Greg, it seems both sides of politics are avoiding climate change this election. Why do you think that is?
Look, the people I speak to have had a bit of a gut full of politicians avoiding the big issues. And on the one hand, we've got a coalition that's got a very bad track record on climate action. They had a decade of inaction They dismantled our eyes and ears in the CSIRO. Very bad track record in emergency management and the Black Summer bushfires. Labor's actually got a good story to tell about the progress that's been made in just 3 years. But we really need to think about what do we want for our future. And we need to talk about this because we're getting more natural disasters, they're getting more intense, they're hurting more people. So it really must be an issue.
But aren't they just reading the electorate? I mean, it's not where the electorate's head is. And even when climate change was a big political issue, the polling data was really clear. People cared about climate change. They didn't want to pay for it. And now you've got a cost of living crisis where people are trying to put food on the table. I mean, how do you make people care about climate change in that climate?
Well, actually, the UN Climate Voice survey found that the majority of Australians are worried about climate change. They want their politicians to take action. So you can rub your tummy and pat your head at the same time. So people can be worried about more than just the cost of living. But if we unpack cost of living, insurance premiums have gone up 75% in the last 10 years because of more natural disasters. And that's not just here, it's worldwide. Los Angeles, Maui, Spain, the floods. So that's driving up insurance costs. And we've made progress on renewables. So old, unreliable coal plants and gas plants are breaking down, driving up costs. But up to 40% of our electricity now is from renewables, and it's far cheaper. The Australian Energy Market Operator and CSIRO have said nuclear's a joke and it will be too late, and we can drive down costs now. So we need to think about the future, what our kids and our grandkids are going to inherit, as well as the here and now.
Greg, are people really struggling because it all feels a bit hopeless? Like there's no leadership worldwide in this regard, so it's all a bit too much to think about?
Oh, Liz, most certainly I know, speaking to people as a firefighter, unlike someone else, I've held a hose and continue to hold a hose, but people who are being impacted by fires, by Tropical Cyclone Alfred, by the 2022 floods, Black Summer bushfires, they're terrified because they've seen it up front and close. Other people are terrified. And I suppose they start to switch off, but we need to focus on the progress that's been made. We've done so much with renewables. We've got legislation in place now setting targets. And we've got a contrast between a party that wants to dismantle all that, go back to doing nothing, and a party that's actually prepared to have a go. But then we have the wild card. We have the Teals and the Greens, and that sent a big message to the big parties. Climate is real and people do care.
All right, Greg, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, off to break. See you soon.
You're watching The Project.
Well, what a moment. After more than 9 months in space, the once stranded astronauts Butch, Wilmore and Suni Williams are tonight back on terra firma, the crew touching down off the coast of Florida as the world watched on.
And Splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
After a whopping 286 days in space, they're back.
Butch, Suni, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
NASA cheering at the eventually successful mission as everyone on Earth watched with excitement. Even the dolphins.
On your screen, we can see dolphins, actually, who want to come and play.
Boats arrived swiftly to greet Butch and Suni, arriving alongside fellow astronaut Nick Hague and cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. After months in zero gravity, the relieved crew members were removed via mobility aids from the capsule that, side note, kind of looks like a blobfish.
There we have it, some waves, some thumbs up and some smiles.
Arriving at the International Space Station on June 6 last year, Butch and Suni were only meant to be in space for 8 days, but fate had other plans.
NASA and Boeing will be holding off bringing astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams back from the International Space Station.
Ongoing technical problems with the Boeing Starliner craft pushing back their return date and extending their stay for months.
Welcome to the International Space Station.
After month.
Happy Thanksgiving to all our friends and family.
After month.
Merry Christmas.
Their 8-day mission blown out by a factor of almost 36. In that time, they circled the Earth 4,576 times. and travelled almost 200 million Ks.
The thing I think back of this whole time frame is how really resilient Butch and Suni were the whole time.
They returned to a world very different to the one they left. Since being off-world, even the place they landed had a different name.
And we're going to stand by for Splashdown, located in the Gulf of America.
Butch and Suni appearing happy and no doubt eager to be reunited with the families they've not seen in the better part of a year.
And it might surprise you to hear there are not a lot of people who know what it's like to be stranded in space. One person who does know, though, is astronaut Dan Tani, who in 2007 had his own time in space unexpectedly extended by almost 2 months. Wow. Dan, thanks so much for speaking to us. We'll get to your story in a sec, but what would that moment have been like when they opened the capsule and re-entered the world?
Well, first of all, they get a blast of, for them, it was probably salt air, sea air. And so that was something they hadn't felt or experienced in several months. And then just seeing other people, it's a lot of overload. I mean, there's just a lot of sensations that they hadn't experienced in quite a while.
I can imagine it would have been a huge relief as well. But physically, what does it feel like when gravity hits you after months without it?
Yeah, well, it takes about a half an hour to go from no gravity or completely floating to lying on your back, back on Earth. You feel sensations that you haven't felt in a long time, pressure on your body, your balance system is all off. So if you notice people come back from space, they move their heads very slowly because if you move your head too quickly, your inner ear will just make you spin and you'll fall over and it won't be pretty. So coming back into gravity is much harder than you expect. It's a real adaptation.
We saw them carted off on stretchers. What effect does that extended stay in space actually have on your body? Are you losing muscle?
Well, no. So my bet is that Suni and Butch and anybody that's up there for a long time actually gains muscle because we work out a lot in space. We exercise a couple hours a day. I'm really good friends with Suni, and she works out all the time here on Earth too. So maybe she didn't gain a lot of muscle, but she didn't. There was not much more than she could gain. We know that being in space is really easy on your body. You don't use your muscles most of the day because you're floating around, and your heart has a real easy time because it doesn't have to fight gravity to pull blood out of your feet and send it to your head, for instance. And so since we want to come back to Earth, we do a lot of exercise, keep our muscles in shape, keep our heart in shape, and especially keep our bones in shape. So we do a couple of hours of exercise a day. And I came back from space much better shape than I launched just because I had scheduled 2 hours of exercise scheduled every day.
Do you at least get one video of you like loading up a bench press being like 300 kilos, pretty easy like that?
You can do push-ups, and then you could do one-handed push-ups,
Oh, yeah.
and then since your feet are tied in, you do zero-handed push-ups.
Oh my God! Now it is. I mean, the science of what it's like being up there is absolutely incredible. But what interests me is more like the extended stay, working for NASA. Let's get down to it. What's the overtime like when you get stuck up there?
I was chatting with Suni. I was emailing Suni up there, and I said, "Hey, you should really tell people about the real benefits of extra time in space because." When we're in space, we're on a business trip. And so when you get back, you have to fill out an expense report just like any other trip.
Expenses?
So, every time you get an expense report, every day you have what's called miscellaneous incidentals, M&I, and that's $2 a day. So you get $2 a day for miscellaneous stuff. And so she was up there for an extra 200 days. That's $400 right in her pocket. So
I got to call my accountant. We're going to space.
Yeah, really, it's there's a big windfall.
What's it like when you're up there and you get told that you're going to be extended up there? Are you a bit disappointed about things that you might be missing out on at home?
It's sort of the opposite in my case, and I think I can't speak for Suni and Butch, but I know Suni pretty well. But in my case, when my mission got extended because the shuttle that was going to come and pick me up was having technical problems, I was pretty happy about it because I've been thinking about being an astronaut for a long time. I certainly could have stayed longer. And of course, you want to come home and see your family. And of course, you're missing birthdays and big holidays. But, you know, this is your big chance. This is what we gear up for. This is what we dream about.
But 8 months of space food sticks. Wow. You know?
Does that technically make her
No, we don't
Russian?
need space food sticks. So the food up there is really good. So they you know, NASA and the other space agencies are really smart because they know how important, psychologically important, meals are. And so they do a really good job of providing food that is really delicious and varied so that you can choose, you know, like a meatloaf or a steak one night and then get lasagna the next night. And I always came to the dinner table craving at least something that was on the menu.
Well, Dan, you've had extraordinary adventures, lucrative ones too. That extra stay you did, I just did some maths, $120, mate. You are loaded, my friend. Spend it wisely, and thanks very much for speaking to us.
I'll tell you what, I know, I hit it. I hit the big jackpot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all at once, Dan, not all at once. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. Good to see you. Good day.
Also the money.
I love that Dan is wearing his NASA jacket. I mean, I would love to go to space. If I went to space, I don't know whether I'd wear the jacket all the time or whether I'd get it tattooed on my forehead. I was an astronaut.
Would you fit? What? Because apparently you grow in space as well.
Sarah, I've eaten some cakes since I retired from netball.
No, you're so tall and you grow in space.
Oh, okay. Do you grow in space?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I have so many more questions. Get Dan back.
Yeah.
I want to ask him these.
No, we're going to get to some more news now. And soaring energy prices are shaping up as one of the hip pocket issues of the upcoming federal election. A new poll shows more than half of voters blame the federal government and its renewable policies for increasing energy costs. But voters aren't convinced about the coalition's nuclear policy either. Only 38% think it will work out cheaper.
Still recovering from last month's flooding disaster, Townsville has been hit with more heavy rain. Roads, homes, businesses have been swamped again, with some areas recording rainfall totals not seen in decades. But rising water levels aren't the only concern for locals. This 3.4 metre salty was fished out of floodwaters in Townsville's outer suburbs. No thanks.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Call Robert Irwin.
And when it comes to the friendliest countries to work in, expats reckon Australia isn't one of them. No wonder, because of crocs like that. Yeah. A new survey shows Australia only ranked 20th for local friendliness and ease of settling in. We ranked 17th for our culture and making people feel welcome, but slipped to 27 when it came to expats finding friends. Costa Rica ranked number 1.
But guess what, guys? It's okay because we beat New Zealand.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't think they weren't even on the charts, I don't think, New Zealand.
Because no one moves there to...
Yeah, because no one's ever worked in New Zealand. So, I mean, it's a bit of fun.
Do you think it's possible Wolf Creek isn't the best brochure?
Oh, yeah.
That's all people know about it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to put something else out there, like, I don't know. What do we do now? This show, maybe. This show, we're fun.
That'll sort it.
Come here.
Let's go to a break. See you soon.
Welcome back.
Our next guest is about to put into words something many have felt, but most probably wouldn't admit to.
I don't know if you've hated on yourself in your sleep before. It is a real time saver. I had a dream recently where I dreamed I was in a fight and I got knocked out in my own dream when I invented the opponent. And in this stupid dream I got knocked out and I was in a coma for 12 months. And I woke up in a hospital bed. And in the stupid dream my mum was sitting next to the bed. And when I woke up, she had my mobile phone, and Mum goes, "You got no text."
Please welcome Lena
It's brutal to watch.
It is. And I apologise if this is a brutal question, but does the zero text message thing happen in real life as well?
Every time I go on airplane mode, there's that little bit of hope that maybe I've got a couple of texts on the landing, but it's not. Maybe it's my wife asking if I've forgotten something, but it's you've got my number, Waleed. You can fix it.
Yeah,
sorry.
Just text me. I'll text you my flights.
Yes.
And then you just send me a couple of nice messages to land to.
Happy to do it.
That'd be lovely.
Happy to do it.
Or you could send yourself a few messages just as you're taking off, bang it on airplane mode, then you'll get them as you land.
It's a terrible idea, and I would have to ask you to leave.
Big show. All right, I'm happy to go. I don't think you've ever kicked me out here before.
I didn't even know I had that power, you know.
That's crazy. Well, I'm going to stay. It's my show.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'll stay too.
Now, I don't want to leave because I don't get to see you much anymore, McGregor. You've moved to Newcastle, right?
Buddy.
Now, when I think Newcastle, I think, surf, salt of the earth people, the Newcastle Knights Rugby League. You're an inner city.
I love the sun. I love the beach. And these are my people.
How's it going? Have Novocastrians embraced you?
Yeah. Talk a little bit too much about mine subsidence in my stand-up.
Oh, okay.
Which is just when a hole in the earth opens up every now and then because of mining companies who normally have our best interests at heart occasionally don't fill up the mines properly. So every now and then in Newcastle, the ground will open up. And it never happens when you want it to. Awkward conversation, solid. But yeah, but I do love it there. And if anyone from Newcastle is watching, thank you for not kicking me out. I appreciate it.
Well, you're back on stage doing stand-up, which is significant because you took a year off. You didn't do any.
Oh, I took I was like 8 years. It was a long time. I haven't done a new show in like 8 years. Yeah. Really? I've been just at home playing Xbox.
You've been doing so much stuff. Yeah.
I do. I have. I've been very busy and super successful.
How have you found being back on stage?
I love it. I've missed it. Yeah. I have kids now, and I don't know how to make this funny. It's going to sound really saccharine, but the way they see the world made me see the world beautifully again. It's just they find fun in everything, and so that made me find fun in everything, which made me start writing again. And then I started to get back on stage again, and I don't feel nervous anymore because I used to have panic attacks, whereas now I just find it really fun because the kids sort of taught me how to play again as an adult. On that note, as a tax-paying individual, I do think adults should have their own adults-only slides and things big enough for adults that we don't have to feel guilty about, like, knocking a 5-year-old out as we go down the slide head first. Like I'd like to see that added to our society.
That is true. Actually, the best thing about having kids is that you can get on the Flying Fox.
Right.
Like, I'm lining up for the Flying Fox to play with my kids.
And you're quite tall. Do you have to you need quite a high Flying Fox? Like the ones at the park wouldn't.
No, I just stand on them and wreck it for everybody else.
my wife is 6'1", and there are very few things that they can play on with the kids.
Yeah, it's one of the tall girl problems. There is a whole list of them. And
I also need to know where you go clothes shopping so I can pass it on as well.
Yes, look, just a quick one. You have been practising your new stand-up routine at home, have you not? Who's your audience when you're at home?
The axolotl.
The axolotl?
The axolotl is it's not a fish. I think
Mexican walking fish?
I think that's another name for it. It doesn't do much.
No.
But if you leave the lid off, it will escape. And that's a great litmus test if the jokes are really good. You take the lid off and then you just do your best.
What's its name?
Rosie.
How do you know it's a girl?
We don't. We don't. Yeah. She's great. We also did a small gig of about 12 people, just the neighbours. My wife's gynaecologist. It was the most nerve-wracking gig I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because if I bombed, it's the neighbours.
Yeah.
I'm going to see them forever. So it was, but it went okay.
Thank God.
Newcastle, close-knit community.
Yeah, really. Yeah. The gynaecologist was my wife's idea because we're friends with them, but they're also now my wife's gynaecologist. Like, can you still have them around for dinner? I don't know what the rules.
That's a very good question.
As long as they're not working at dinner.
Well, it's such a time saver.
Tickets for Luke's OK Wow tour are on sale now.
What an
Info
hour.
is at our website. Luke McGregor, we love you. Thank you.
All right, Cameron Ragg, more projects soon.
Welcome back.
Oh, God, Cyndi Lauper is coming up very soon, but right now it's me. So I guess you could say I'm her opening act. Time to put my best foot forward. I'm going to bring you the best international TV news. Let's do it. Very exciting. First up, there is a new international incident brewing. It's a big one. The French want the Statue of Liberty back.
Wow.
Is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now.
Boom! Right there. I don't know. They're getting cocky, America. I would give them the statue, or they might take their precious French fries away. So just be careful. Now, as a serious journo, which I am, I know that when there's a breaking news story, you've just got to trust what's written on the auto cue, which this guy clearly did not. But who can blame him? This story is mental.
This is breaking news.
24, we want to get you to some breaking news just out of our newsroom here at Fox 13. A man is in the hospital after being shot in the leg overnight. That's not good. Memphis police say he was shot by his dog. Seriously. I think that's right.
According to police, a man and woman at this address were lying in bed when the man's dog jumped on the bed, got its paw stuck in the trigger guard of a weapon. The weapon discharged.
I mean, wow, this is why the no dogs on the bed rule is just so important. I mean, now the dog got 10 years, but apparently he could get out in 5 if he's a good boy. Thank you. But it turns out there are dangerous animals in the UK as well.
Now, a family had an unexpected guest while preparing dinner in Shetland. An otter got into Donna Muat's kitchen in South Nesting and proceeded to make itself very much at home. It ran amok among the countertops and cleared the contents from cupboards. You could say that it caused otter chaos.
I mean, that was disgusting, but that pun was worse, for sure. Also, it looked like Sarah Harris looking for a Diet Coke. Finally, guys, St. Patrick's Day in Boston. It's a big deal, which explains why the homemade cocktails are so big that you can see them from space.
The city made changes to this year's South Boston St. Patrick's Day parade to cut down on the public drinking and the violence.
Some of the most stunning images of the day came from Boston police. Look here, dozens of gallon jugs known as Borgs. What does that stand for? Blackout Rage Gallon, filled with booze and juice.
I mean, firstly, Blackout Rage Gallon was my nickname in high school, but that is crazy. But this is the problem. This is spread to Australia as well. We actually confiscated a Borg from Liz Ellis's dressing room. I mean, it says here, if you need a good time, that's the segment. I can't open it.
You didn't actually take a swig.
It's also just water. Waste of time.
Okay. Fair enough. Our next guest was the face of the 80s and is known for some of the most famous lyrics ever. I sat down with Cyndi Lauper to find out why now she's saying farewell. Cyndi Lauper's anthems defined the 80s. With an undeniable influence on pop culture for decades to come, she's the go-to soundtrack for girls' nights and big-head ballroom heartbreaks.
Come on, let's go.
Flat out with anthems, awards and activism, she's now ready to put the show-stopping performances to bed. First, she's doing a farewell tour because... Cyndi Lauper, welcome to the project. Such a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you're coming to Australia for the Girls Just Want to Have Fun farewell tour. Why now?
Because I'm 71 and right now I'm strong and I sing good. And, you know, I keep doing these Broadway things and they take forever. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what year is it? How old am I? Oh, you know, I was thinking, well, if I'm going out, I'm going out big.
Of course. So what does going out big look like?
These shows, you should come because it's a lot of fun. We even sell wigs and the proceeds go to the Girls Just Want to Have Fundamental Rights Fund, which funds women's health, women's issues. And the idea was taken from a demonstration that I saw with a young woman holding the sign like that. And I thought, wow, we should step up and do the right thing. But when the people put the wigs on, it's kind of fun because it's a party and people get dressed up to come. It's kind of fun.
Well, indeed, you've named it after Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Such an iconic song for you, such an iconic song of the 80s. But unless people have seen the documentary, they may not know the song was originally written by and even performed by a man.
Absolutely. And you couldn't do it like him because if a guy is singing that, it means something totally different,
Yes.
right? And so they kept telling me, make it a female anthem. And, you know, I was thinking, okay, I can do that. That would be good. But I guess they didn't realize who they were talking to, because I burnt my training bra at the first women's demonstration, you know, in 69, 68. I was there with my friend. She burnt the rollers, I burnt the bra. And so when people would say to me, what are you, some kind of bra burner? You know, I have to laugh and say, well, actually, yeah, my training bra at the time, absolutely, came out with boxing gloves. What do you want?
Well, I gather they got exactly what they wanted because it's such a huge hit. But you also then wanted to change some of the lyrics. Do you remember what lyrics you changed?
Well, I just edited out, you know, a bridge that was talking about some girl up in his room and blah, blah, blah. I changed when he was talking to his dad and going, nudge, nudge, we are the fortunate ones. And I started to think about that. And I thought, oh, Mama dear, we are not the fortunate ones. We want a joyful experience in life, not drudgery, right? So Rick brought in Ellie Greenwich to sing the backgrounds. And right away, she was like, Sin, use your accent. And I said, what accent? But, you know, so it was like, girls, they want to have fun, girls. The song came together. And, you know, the rest is herstory, I guess.
Indeed. What's also herstory is the film clip of an era where film clips were a big deal. They were often quite long. They were like mini films. Do you think we've lost something with that?
Well, each decade is different. And, you know, now it's TikTok. Or it's, and TikTok's not going to last. It's going to be something else. You know, we had vinyl, then it's tape, then it's a CD. I remember them scratching the CD saying, it'll never skip.
Well, each decade is different, but it's glorious that we get little bits of the 80s now as you say goodbye. Thank you so much for speaking to us. All the best with the farewell tour. It'll be no doubt fantastic, but also a little bit sad.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's not sad, it's fun.
Probably not close. That was great. Oh, yeah. So good to speak to you. She's bringing her farewell tour to Australia next month. Tickets are on sale now. The details for that are on our website.
Now, guys, before we get out of here very quickly, I was watching Sam Pang tonight. His debut. It was incredible. What a great show. Love Sam. But supposed friend of the project, Dave Thornton, was on, and he had a bit of a crack at our audience.
Don't forget to sign up for tickets to our live studio audience. It is filling up fast, so if you miss out, I think the project will be happy to have you.
Oh, I mean, fair play, Thorno, but also it's a great reminder, if you want to join our studio audience, head to theprojectaudience.com.au. If the audience Sam Pang rejects, then we gladly accept.